And welcome to the Elite Tennis Podcast. We have the one, the only Ken DeHart. Ken, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for inviting me on.
Man, you have had the career of careers. I can start off with the short list. I could have a long list. Either way, there would not be enough time. We would run out before I even get halfway through it. So let's start off with this. Ken, how did you even get involved with tennis?
First of all, I ended up going to college to a small school in Kentucky by accident. And I played basketball, being from Indiana, and tried to play some college basketball, but I was too short, and not fast enough for everybody. I could shoot as long as somebody guarded me. And in college, I ran by the tennis courts one day and saw some guys playing tennis. So I went to Kmart, bought me a $14.95 Wilson racket and a $2.99 can of balls, and told my roommate, we started playing tennis. That was my freshman year. And we fell in love. We started playing every day. And so we got this idea. I said, how about if we ask the tennis coach if we can hit with the team? Not knowing any better. There's a lady coach, and she says, sure, you guys can hit. If we need somebody to hit with, you can pick up balls. And so we did. And that was the end of my freshman year. My sophomore year, I got a chance. I went to summer school so I could play tennis. And my sophomore year, I got invited to play on the team and played number 6 singles. And my third year, my junior, I won the conference doubles championship. And my senior, I was captain of the team, most valuable player. But to me, baseball and basketball translated perfectly to tennis.
Oh, absolutely.
How you move your feet, how you play offense and defense, how you track a ball, how you get your feet. So I was pretty fortunate. I never really had a lesson other than athletic skills. And you played tennis as an athlete, and it all made sense.
So what school did you go to in Kentucky?
Okay, it's called Campbellsville College.
Okay.
It's in the center of the state. At the time, there were about 1,700 students, I think.
Yeah.
And now it's a university. But
so
it's 80 miles from Bowling Green, 80 miles from Lexington, 80 miles from Louisville.
It's funny, actually. I'm from Southern Indiana.
Oh yeah, what part?
I'm from a little town called Elnora, 600 people, no stoplights. It's in Daviess County, close to Washington. But one of my players, when I coached in Evansville, played for Campbellsville.
Oh my gosh!
So I know Campbellsville.
I'm from Columbus.
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah.
And I went to school there in Campbellsville and got my master's degree at Western Kentucky University. And I coached high school tennis for a couple of years until I got a chance to, luckily, get an interview for a job in Nashville, Tennessee. And I playing in a tournament in Murray, Kentucky. I played against Mel and Del Purcell. I got beat by them. But they were like 12 and 13 at the time. And I was a college player, but they kicked my butt pretty good. So their dad, Benny Purcell, was the coach at Murray State. And I watched this guy play against him, and I played really well. I liked how he played. And so I sat on this hillside and talked to his wife. And when he came off the court, I found out he lived in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I had a couple of relatives in Nashville, and I took all the courage I had within me to ask this question: can I work for you free? If I could work for you for free this summer? And he said, well, I'm looking for somebody. So we stayed in contact as we left, and I went back to Campbellsville to teach high school. And about January, he called me and says, my brother's coming back to take the job, but there's another job in town. I'll help you get an interview. So my first job ever, I had no idea what I was doing, was a director of tennis at a swim and tennis club called Sequoia. And I go to Thay's house every night and say, what did you do today? How'd you do that? So I could go do it tomorrow. But he's been my mentor, and he's the one who helped me get my first job ever. My first real job in tennis was a director of tennis. I've been a director of tennis for close to 50 years now, I guess.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a great, going from trying to play college basketball in Campbellsville, Kentucky, from Columbus, Indiana, from the 812, now you're going to Nashville, Tennessee, and now you've been director of tennis for 50 years. That's quite the story there.
Here's what's even scarier. So I was there for 2 years, and then the Woodmont Country Club job came open in town, and everybody applied. And I have a I have a master's degree in physical education, but I have an area in business as well. So I applied for the job too. And I had a business plan I presented to the general manager. And I got the job over all these other guys, all the experience. I had 2 years of experience. So I became the director of tennis for Woodmont Country Club in Nashville, Tennessee. And 2 years later, they sold the club and rebuilt it out in the country. And I got to design the courts, the pro shop. And for 5 years, I was there. And then, even scarier, they built this huge club in Nashville called Maryland Farms. And it was designed after the horse racing stables. And I applied for the job there and went into about ideas about promoting the program and stuff like that. And I was a finalist for it. And the guy said, there's a guy named Bill Wuffler from Florida. But the owner knows that he wants Bill to be the director of tennis here. So we really appreciate it. And I said, it's okay if I drop by occasionally with ideas? He said, sure. So I did. Well, Bill didn't work out because Bill was an older guy who only taught private lessons and didn't do program. So about a year later, they said, are you still interested in this job? And I said, yeah. So it had 5 dining rooms. It had 8 indoor courts. It had 22 outdoor courts. And I'm the director of tennis at the biggest club in Nashville. And I come from a country boy from Indiana, and I have no idea how I got there, but it's been like a dream job.
So how did you get from, because you're in California now.
Yeah.
You're in Northern California. It's almost like you're a staple of Northern California tennis.
Yeah, about 22 years.
How did you get from Nashville, Tennessee to California?
Okay, another interesting piece. A lot of these things were kind of leaps of faith. I've been at Maryland Farms for 5 years, and we hosted the Virginia Slam Championships and stuff like that there. And I knew I needed to improve my administrative skill. And I got a call from Dennis Vandermeer. He says, I'm looking for an executive director. And I said, can I apply? And he said, sure. So I read this book on the way to on the plane on the way to my interview, and it's he called it In Search of Excellence. And so I met Dennis and Pat and applied for the job as director of tennis. As executive director. And I became the first executive director for the PTR. And I was there for 3 years. And then my family had moved from Indiana to Arizona. So I said, I'd like to be with my mom and dad and them a little bit. So I went out to Arizona and I applied to 30 different clubs. And they said, everybody said, yeah, good job, way to go, stuff like that. And there's only one club I didn't apply for. It was a 31-court multi-sport facility called the Western Reserve Club. And they said, look, don't even bother. The owner's a jerk. The manager's even worse than him. They were looking for a pro for 3 years now. So I said, okay. So my last job with the PTR was at the URSA conference in Reno, Nevada. And who should happen to come by but the general manager of the Western Reserve Club. So he said, you tennis pros, you're all alike. You're prima donnas, you're jerks and stuff like that. And I said, not everybody. We talked for a long time. He says, why don't you come out and apply for the job? So I did. And I became the director of tennis at a 31-court facility in Phoenix for 10 years. And then the owner and his wife got a divorce, and he demolished the club.
Oh, no.
Yes, 31 courts. And we every weekend we dominated every age group in the Southwest in tournament play in our club. And it just demolished the tennis community there. So we had no choice. So I happened to go to the USPTA conference in Boca Raton. And I met a friend of mine there who's from Southern Indiana, from Evansville. And I said, I'm looking for a job. My club closed. And he says, well, we're looking for a director of tennis at the sporting club at Windy Hill. And he interviewed me, and I got the job there for 1 year. And it was a 7-court facility, and it was a $22 million facility the Japanese had built. And they hired Doug Cash Group to manage the courts.
Yep.
So, but then a friend of mine called me, and he says, I know you like the West Coast best. I have a job interview at the Beverly Hills Country Club in LA if you think you can pass it. I said, I'll give it a try. So I had to call Doug up and say, Doug, I'm leaving Windy Hill to go to Beverly Hills Country Club. He wasn't really happy, but he said, I understand. So I became the director of tennis at the Beverly Hills Country Club in LA, and happened to meet in the staff meeting this little blonde girl who's an actress named Karen, just a super positive person and stuff like that. And then asked her out and fell in love with her, and we ended up getting married and decided we didn't want to live in LA. And she said, well, my dad has an income tax practice in San Jose. And I said, okay, let's move there and I'll find a job in the park. So we moved to San Jose. I got offered a job at the Los Gatos Women Racket Club right away, and been the director and came there as the director of tennis. So I've been the director of tennis there, a general manager at a club in Fremont. 10 years at San Jose Women Racket Club, 6 years at AVAC, and now 2 years at the Silver Creek Valley Country Club, and that's my history. And it's an incredible journey. I can't even believe I lived it.
That's so awesome. That is awesome. So you just meet this little blonde actress and fall in love, and next thing's next. You guys get married, and
it was really weird because I've never dated an actress, and she never dated an athlete. And she was single, and I was single, and she just the funniest person, the most positive person I've ever met. And 22 years later, we're still having a good time. Right now we're binge watching NCSI.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you've got all this stuff. You work for the PTR. You've done your Hall of Fame with the PTR. You're a USPTA Master Pro. You're a PTR International Pro or Master Pro. I've actually met you at the USTA high performance coaching programs, which I believe are very underrated because they are so good. If anyone has the opportunity to get involved with the USTA high performance coaching program, they should jump on that. It's a week long, and they get involved, and then the stuff that they come out with that, I think that there is, just my own personal opinion, the things that high performance does with coaching education is phenomenal. And really Dr. Paul Lubbers and Ramos and Johnny, what those guys do with coaching education is just top notch right there.
It really is. But I have always enjoyed those classes. I've tried to attend every one that I could. They started offering more than I could actually go to. They offered some in New York and some over there with the French Open, and some. And I said, I can't make all these, but I've made all the ones that have been connected with the USPTA or the PTR. And I went through it with Nick Salviano at Stanford University in 2019. But and it's fun to go there because you meet like guys like yourself, just guys who have this passion for the game, and we're on to learn stuff. And you may not be coaching high performance players, but the information and the application is the same.
Yeah, I remember we were at one of the meetings, and we're at Lake Nona, and I don't know if I can tell this. Oh, I don't care. We don't have two people watching right now, but we're at Lake Nona, and we're watching. I think it was Riley Opelka, and was it Tommy Paul or was it Taylor Fritz?
Tommy. It was Tommy.
Tommy. Okay. So Riley and Tommy were just slugging at it.
Yeah.
Just hitting it. And I mean, I can remember like Riley's bounce on his serve was hitting like 8 feet up on the fence.
Yes. Couldn't believe it.
It was just amazing just to see that courtside. And when you're like standing just right there next to the courts, it was just great to see that. And then you're talking to the coaches and everything, and it's just fun to be around, and the atmosphere is just great. But
the coaching education, the people you're getting a chance to meet, has just been so amazing. Like we're standing there talking to the guy from the University of Virginia that won the NCAAs. Yeah. And the people we meet in the tennis industry are just incredible people. And they've all done amazing things, but they're all down to earth. They all share information, and we all have that same love, passion for the game.
So you've done so much, but you've also given back so much too. What has been some of your best and brightest things that you've done giving back to tennis?
I think a lot of it actually has been as a PTR tester, doing courses for the PTR, and actually get a chance to meet people and help them and learn more about them as you're teaching. Because these courses, you teach them like 11 to 17 course or the 10 and under course. You're on the court with these guys 12, 15 hours on a weekend, and you know everything about them, and you become friends. I mean, really like lifetime friends. And so I think that's really important. I think I learned a lot from when I first started going to the conference. I was very intimidated by everybody. By nature, I'm a pretty shy guy. Given a choice, I'd just sit at home and read books and work in my garage and stuff like that, given a choice of what to do. But Dr. Jim Lair and all these guys, they always made time for me whenever I had a question, and they would always make time. So what I would do, I would take a picture with me and them. And then on the way home on the plane, I would write them a thank you card and put the picture in there. And so Jim would say, "Hey, do I get my note tonight whenever we get done?" But my mom gave me that skill of writing thank you notes all the time. But just, I'm so thankful for guys like Jim Lair and Dennis Vandermeer and all the guys I've met, like yourself, that are just down to earth people. You've done amazing things. I mean, look at your stuff, what you've done, Mike, with your career. And later on, I have a question for you. Okay. And look at all the stuff you do. I mean, you actually love sharing this information with people, and that's a special gift. And I got a chance to be your mentor.
Yes.
That was very exciting, just to get a chance to talk to you and help out. I wasn't sure how much I helped, but I'm a sounding board.
No, absolutely no, and that's the thing is, so I signed up for the PTR mentor program, and it's always great to have connections. I am a big believer in growing networks, and
Yes.
the network can't be too big.
No.
And I feel like I've been very blessed to be able to have a very nice phone book of pros of being able to talk to Chuck Gill 2 nights ago and you tonight, and being able to just talk to Kyle Lacroix last week, and just these guys in the tennis industry of just and ladies as well. I talked to Amanda Fink last week, and just
Lisa Stone
the week before, and just all these great people in the tennis industry, and the network is just trying to connect everybody and have the information being shared of what they can do and what they know to just help everybody out. I think that's one thing that maybe when I got started teaching full time was, I want to say 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So about 14 years ago, full time. And it was really hard for me being in Southern Indiana, being in Evansville, being, we had one club here and one club over there. And if you weren't at that club, then we were against you.
Yes.
And there was a little dynamic with that too, because there was some backstory, and the pros didn't work together in the city because there was some backstory between the two clubs. We're not going to get into that, but it goes back to the whole TCA and goes in the whole thing there. And there wasn't the continuity, and there wasn't the family between that. Now, I had trained at the other club for a little bit before I went and played at the University of Evansville. And I had known both staffs growing up. So I kind of felt like I had a little in both places. And I had liked both staffs for a long time. So I kind of felt like I could kind of go here, but I couldn't say certain things. I couldn't do certain things. But at the same time, I didn't want to make the wrong people mad too, because I knew where the paycheck was being signed. So, and it's kind of funny that not everywhere is cohesive.
No.
Every division is different. Every district is different. And you find that out whenever you go around and you talk to different people. And I think one thing with social media is we can kind of make those barriers break down.
Yeah.
And we can build up the cohesion, we can build up the family, we can build up the networking. And that's one thing that when I was the national chair for U30 for USPTA, that was the one big thing that I was really big on, was the inclusiveness,
right?
And really trying to get everyone involved, and not shunning anyone, but making everyone involved. And that was one of my goals there. But yeah.
My question for you then is, how did you get into the podcasting?
Really? So it's a guy that you know. It's let's see here, about I want to say 5 years ago. Uh, I met Bill Patton.
Oh yeah.
And at a high school coaches conference, and he asked me to come on his podcast. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. And he interviewed me on his podcast, and he asked me, would I want to do my own podcast with him? And would I want to be a part of the 720 Degree Coaching Network? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be a part of the 720 Degree Coaching Network. And I started doing it. And then that's when the Next Gen Tennis podcast was born. So wow. I started doing that with him. And I think Jeff Rothschild was with him as well. And the three of us did it for a little bit. And then Jeff dropped off. And then I still continued to do it for, I want to say we did it for a couple years. And then we did it through a service called Blog Talk Radio. And then we ended up dropping it. And then I started going exclusively on Facebook Live, because people don't have to click on Facebook Live. You already open up Facebook and it's there. Yep. So that's how I got into the podcasting stuff.
That's great.
Bill interviewed me and he asked me if I wanted, he's like, you're not too bad. You want to do this? And I'm like, all right, let's go. And then it started after that. And then, some job and relocation a few years ago, I kind of took a step back, but now we're rebooting this up. And I've had quite a few people. I had enough people ask me to start it back to make me want to start it back. So now, so this is the reboot, and this is the 6th episode of me starting it back up. So I'm really glad you could join me and really get delving into who DeHart is and what you're up to next and what you're up to now. And here's the big question that I have is, how big is your garage?
Not big enough.
Okay.
I have,
it seems like every day you have another post, another like photo or 5 of some sort of tennis history or nostalgia or something that just is like, wow, that is awesome.
This is all in my house. I have 2 storage units that has other stuff in it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The paper behind me is it's 1889. It's New York Times about tennis. And so up there on the wall is, if I can find it, there it is, 1889. And then the other one is an article I did, series of articles I did for a Canadian magazine. And I'm going to go over here. This is some of my bookshelves with books of tennis in there. And here is my USPTA certificate I got when I went to in 79. And there's I won the 2 gold medals in the Huntsman World Senior Games. And so I'm surrounded by books, and there's a few books on the floor over here that I haven't gotten to yet.
Oh my.
And then the rackets are out in the garage. And I love the history of the game. And it's been really exciting just to be a part of it. I didn't start off intend to do anything with it. I just, I found an old racket, I'll keep it. And then over the years, I've got about over 1,200 wood rackets and about 800 books on tennis and this huge collection of stuff. It's just stuff. It's tennis stuff. I have like the Army versus Navy 1918 championships, this little trophy that I found somewhere. But just the history of the game has been fascinating. And, so during this time, I'll be able to pull out some of the books or pictures and post them. And it's been fun. I have about 7,200 friends on Facebook. I have 5,000 on one page that's full. I can't add anybody. And then I've got 2,400 on the other page.
Oh, my.
DeHart Tennis. And, what's even scarier, being a shy person, is I've spoken the Australian Open 4 times, Wimbledon, U.S. Open, almost every high school coaches conference. Whenever I go to a high school coaches conference, I join. Like I'm a member of the Montana High School Coaches Conference. I'm a member of the Michigan High School Coaches Conference. Whenever I go, I always join their conference, kind of give back. But it's been interesting. My wife is an actress, and I tease her because I have more FaceTime and video time than she does. I have 8 DVDs I produced, and so I tease her like, who's really the actor here.
That's funny. That's funny. That's great. Dan Beadle commented, 2 of the top in the industry. Thank you, Ken, for your willingness to help any and everyone for continuing to provide great information. So another Indiana boy right there commenting. So Dan's there. Tennyson, Indiana runs strong, I think.
I understand it does. I never saw tennis played when I lived in Indiana. I never saw anybody play tennis before. I never seen that.
I think it's kind of funny. The same thing too. I never realized it and didn't really appreciate it when I lived in Indiana. And then, Brian Bolin, who is now at Baylor, was the head coach at Virginia, actually was the head coach at Indiana State for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So
Jerry Newsom and Jerry Newsom and a bunch of the guys from Columbus High School went on to play basketball at Indiana State. And the one guy set all the records at Indiana State until a guy named Larry Bird came along.
Yep.
And destroyed all of his records.
Yeah, it was funny. I was doing a clinic the other day, and I mentioned French lick because that's where I took a lot of my lessons from a guy named Kevin Fulton, who's now the assistant women's coach at the University of Louisville. And they said, French lick, like, what is that? And I go, never heard of French lick? That's where Larry Bird's from.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, never heard of that. So Ken, what is next up for you? I mean, you've got all this stuff done. You are now you're at Silver Creek Valley Country Club.
Correct.
And you've now been there, what, 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Okay. So what is up next for you? I know you're always doing something.
Yeah. I've enjoyed writing. I got approached by this company last summer to write a book on mental toughness skills. They said, we saw your stuff on Facebook and on YouTube. Would you like to write a book? I said, sure. So we did the whole thing in 2 months. And that was a challenge. I wrote the International Book of Drills for the PTR in Denison. I did. But I hadn't
you mean this book here?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, thank you for sending that to me. I saw your post and I had to message you immediately to send that to me. So thank you very much for that. And then also you wrote a book, Master Your Tennis Game, 50 Mental Strategies and Tactics, by Rockridge Press. So I included the link for that book in the description of the video as well. So if anyone wants to check that book out, please check that book out. But no, so you want to talk a little bit about the Master Your Tennis Game book?
It's more of those. It's more like a gift book type thing. They said, here's what it is. It's kind of a gift book thing. It costs $12.99, and but they kind of guided me through. I had most all the information because when my first job at that little club was I wanted to become. I knew I didn't have mental toughness skills, and I said so I talked to my friend who's a psychologist. I said, can you hypnotize me so I can play better? And he says, it doesn't work that way. So we started doing free clinics on defeating the monsters in your mind. And that's been the topic of all the things I've done since then. But so I've had a lot of this stuff, but writing the book made me organize it. And it's a simple approach to what happens before you go play, during the play, and after the play. But it's one of those easy things to use that you can use as a guide to get people to introduce into sports psychology and mental toughness skills. And I'm proud that I did it. I didn't think I could do it. Some of those things, kind of like you, Mike. I say, here's what I would guess that you've never turned down an opportunity to do something, whether you thought you could do it or not.
There's a couple times. There's a couple, not many,
Right.
Not many, but there's a couple that I've turned down, but there's not many.
It's kind of the same way. I've never been afraid to accept an opportunity without knowing what it's going to be like. Just, okay, I think I can do it. Let's see what happens. And that's kind of with the book like that. And it's kind of the same way with speaking, wherever I've spoken, and all the other stuff we've done. Like you, I mean, you got into the podcast. Yeah, I can do that, sure. And I think that's kind of unique about tennis players. They have the courage to go beyond what they feel comfortable doing, and they just increase their comfort zone all the time. Yeah. I think probably the most amazing thing about your career and my career is that the people we were able to meet, the influence they've had on us. I'm not sure, you don't always know what influence you've had on others, but man, you realize what influence they've had on you. And what a blessing that is to have mentors of every possible description in your life that come to help you. And so people say, what do you do for a living, Ken? I said, I paint pictures in people's heads. That's what you do. You're coach. You paint pictures in people's heads so they can see what it is you're trying to do, or they can see what they need to do. And so we're pretty lucky to be artists.
Oh, I like that. Especially now in this climate, in this age, where you may not be able to do what you used to. I know before you used to be able to get a little bit closer to the player. You used to be able to touch the racket and maybe move the racket in the player's hand. But now you have to be more eloquent with your words. You have to be able to make the words pop in their head and be able to maybe use analogies a little bit better. And like what you said, paint that picture in their head to make them realize what they're doing or what you're trying to convey to them. And I think that's very, very a strong way to put it is paint that picture. What are some of your, you've been coaching for, you say you've been a director of tennis for 50 years. Yeah. What are some of your favorite go-to phrases and tips when you're working with players?
Okay, that's one of my last topics that I spoke about. How does your words how do you improve your communication skills to make your players better? Here's what coaches typically say. Mike, the coach says, hey, come over here, buddy, come over here. I said, have you ever seen an over here? Where's that? Why do you think people don't come in? They don't know where over here is. But if you said everybody on the deuce court service line, that's what's called meaning and measurable. So I spoke in Michigan and had 176 coaches. So I brought them all out on one court, and we did the juggle drill. We tossed the ball back and forth, and we timed them to see how many you could do in 15 seconds. And then whatever score they beat, they had to beat it by 2 again, and then 2 again. And they're laughing, they're cutting up and stuff like that again. So at the end, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your focus level right now? And everybody was 8, 9, or 10. I said, okay, so if you tell someone to focus, what does that mean? Concentrate. Well, what does that mean? But if you said, what's your attention level? And you had some way to measure it, now you can do it. So I said, whenever someone says, are you ready to play? You do a quick mental check. If your skill level is not 8, 9, or 10, if it's 8, 9, or 10, you're competitive. If it's 7, 6, and 5, you're social. And below that, you're going to hurt me or somebody else. So I said, now, so you have a way to talk to your players about what concentration is. Do you think their forehand really breaks down, or did their focus level break down? So when someone makes an error, you don't say you didn't follow through. You say, okay, scale of 1 to 10, where's your focus? Oh, I was a 5. So simple ways too, like I think I'm in charge of my forehand. My wife really is. My wife's my left hand. My wife tells me to take the racket back because my left hand takes the racket back. My right hand doesn't take it back. My left hand does. My left hand extends out to show me the spacing to get between the ball. And then the left hand shows me where the racket should go. So I think I'm in charge of the right hand. It's really my wife telling me what to do. So you create word pictures. So when you tell someone to follow through, you say, look, answer the phone. What do you mean? You say, oh, well, okay. When you answer the phone, where do you put your left hand or your non-dominant hand? Excuse me, my alarm went off. So if you put the phone up by your left ear, okay, now. So instead of saying follow through, where is that? Just say answer the phone. We know that the pros average 8 to 12 steps between shots. How do you teach that? You can't. But if I put a cone out and said, Mike, I'm going to feed you forehand. And as you make the shot, I want you to circle the cone and come back to ready position again. And we do that several times. And then I say, okay, how many steps did you average around the cone, Mike? And have people counting to help you out. And it's always 8 to 12 steps. So I said, I can't teach you to play. I can't teach you to move your feet. The cone can. So we call the cone George. George can teach you how to move your feet. I can't. So I said, I really don't. I just feed balls. But I find ways to have friends help me teach, whether it's the cone or the rope zone above the net or the tennis target trainers. They're called the magic windows. Can you hit the ball through the magic window? But it's, so everybody says, okay, I get it. Teaching is more about choosing the right words than it is anything else. So I said, yeah. And so that's been my most accepted topic is mastering your communication skills to improve your player's performance.
That is fantastic there, Ken. That is great stuff. I wish you could just keep going, but I don't want to take anything away from your presentation. So what I'm going to do is next time I hear that you're going to have this presentation, I'm going to take this clip, I'm going to chop it down, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to go, you guys need to check Ken DeHart out. This is what he's going to be talking about. And then hopefully you get like 400 people come and see your presentation.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
My favorite thing is like my communication skills again. Like my favorite drill is on Saturday morning. I have 3 courts to myself. I have 30 players between 3.0 and 5.0 skill level, and I'm the only coach on the court. And it's all drop in. So if you like it, you show up. If you don't, you don't. But I'm able to keep 30 people in 3.0 to 5.0 skill level. And we do things like I never tell the player to hit cross court. I tell them to hit the square 2 because there's 4 squares. Deuce court, deuce service court, behind that 3 and 4. So Mike, you and I are going to go square 2 to square 2. Mike, you're going top spin. I'm going top spin. You're going underspin. I'm going top spin. 20 ball rally. Mike, I need if you take 6 to 8 steps. Ken, you need 8 to 12 steps. Go. So I have something I can measure about their footwork, the direction of the shot, the depth of the shot, the spin of their hitting. Instead of saying, guys, hit the ball and keep it deep. How long? How much do I move my feet?
Yeah.
So you try to find things that are meaningful and measurable. So having those players, it's easy. And if I get Mike who doesn't want to move his feet, I say, okay, Mike, after Ken hits the ball, you take the next ball. And you're going to hit and rotate. And you're playing against 2 other players. So, Mike, how many steps did you have to take to get behind Ken? 8 to 12. Okay. Now, when you go rally with Ken by yourself, I want you to move around your imaginary Ken. Make your shot, circle Ken. Make your shot, circle Ken. So they have ways that they're funny ways to help remember things like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now you're making those players that have bricks for feet actually start moving them a little bit more.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because tennis should be a very moving experience. And if it's not, it's because you're playing golf.
Well, it's kind of nice that a lot of clubs have golf courses right next to the tennis courts, so they can just go and go off and go play now.
Sure. What are the 3 major ways you can lose points in a match besides cheating?
Besides what?
Besides cheating.
Besides cheating.
You can hit a ball where?
You can hit the ball in the net. You can hit the ball long. You can hit the ball wide.
Great. So if I hit the ball in the net, who has to pick it up? I do.
I do.
You like picking up balls? No, then keep the ball above the net. The green area around the court, depending on what kind of your court's color, what's called the green area is the Jolly Green Giant. So if you hit the ball out, the Jolly Green Giant gets it, but who picks up the balls? They do. And the other way you can lose points is they hit a good shot. Okay. But if you keep the ball out of the net, you improve your game by 30%. I haven't told you how to do it, what to do it, but if the ball goes in the net, you and the rest of the group have to run up, touch the net, put the ball over, and run back again. Pretty soon there are no balls in the net because Mike is saying, Ken, you hit the ball in the net again, I'm kicking your ass. So pretty soon the group manages the situation for me. I'm never the bad guy. The group just told you, Ken, you hit the ball in the net again, we're kicking your butt. So don't lose to a 3-foot midget that's 42 feet wide and doesn't move. Hit the ball out to the Jolly Green Giant or let the guy beat you. Only 3 ways you can lose.
So what's some of your best ones when players are at the net, they get an easy volley and they miss the court completely?
All right. That's a fun one too, because pretty much all you got to do is if your eye stays on the ball, you're going to make the shot. But what happens is the picture in your head changes to being on ESPN, and you usually are for the worst shot in the game. Um, terminology again. Your goal was to do what? Put the ball away. Well, I'm sorry, they forgot part of it. What they said was put the ball away from where the player's standing. They didn't say about speed or direction or depth. They just said put away from where the ball's standing, where the player's standing. But we all think of the put away shot as a power shot. So you have to really realize that most of the coaching doesn't include the last part of the words. Move your feet more than last time. Hit the ball higher than the net. We just use paraphrasing that makes it a really confusing game. Like, put the ball away in the green court. Oh, okay. So most of the time it's because you have this delusions of grandeur that you missed easy shots.
One of my favorite new ones is, especially since we're talking about how big the court is we figured out that the court is 2,808 square feet, including the doubles. So on one half, it's 1,404 square feet. Right. So when they miss the shot, they have 1,404 square feet, and none of them was good enough for them.
How do you do that? How do you miss 1,400 square feet?
How do you miss 1,404 square feet? I mean, that's bigger than my apartment. So, I mean,
the more visual, and people remember funny things. So the funnier you make it, the greater chance. So don't do technical stuff. Just do funny.
They do. And if you can make it funny and you can make it dumb, they're going to remember it forever. They remember the dumbest things. I remember my son will be 15 later this year.
Oh, cool.
And he remembered when he was little, I told him when he follows through, I want him to think of his arm being an apple, his bicep being an apple. And when he follows through, he wants to take a bite out of the apple.
Perfect.
And he remembers that even now, like I want to say 4 years ago, we went out to the tennis courts, and it was my wife, but now she was my girlfriend at the time, even before we even got engaged. And she was like, Jaden, do you have any tips or do you have any suggestions or whatever? And he's like, yeah. And he pulled this one out of nowhere. And it was like 3 years like after I had told him this, and he just remembered it out of nowhere. And he's like, yeah, pretend your arm's an apple and take a bite out of it. He goes up like this and goes like that. And that's how you follow through. And I was like, holy crap, like you remember that?
Yeah.
Like just the little things like people remember, and it's great. But
that's what makes a good teacher, really, is the ability to be creative with your words and your word pictures.
Yeah, it's great when you can paint that picture and it really breaks through. The other thing that I really have enjoyed with doing education and continuing education, and like let me do a sidetrack real quick. One of the things that kind of is a pet peeve of mine is when I talk to pros and they sit through a seminar and I've got 2 pages of notes after I've seen the seminar for the 3rd time. I've seen the same presentation and I still have 3 pages of notes from nuggets that I'm still picking up on.
Yeah.
And I know you're the same way. And it's like I didn't get anything out of that. I'm like, it was a waste of my time. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I guess you know everything then. And it's like they could have been listening to Stan Oli or Mike Barrell or whoever. I've just picked 2 random names that present everywhere, but they're like this whatever pro that nobody like that I know from this place or this place. And I just talked to them. They're like, yeah, I didn't get anything out of this. I'm going to jet. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to close my little notebook here. Or I'm going to close my browser tab of like my 2-3 pages of notes that I'm not only writing down notes, but I'm getting other ideas.
Right.
And that's the other thing is I may not be getting notes from them, but I'm getting other ideas of programming. But so this is where I was going with this is the word pictures and going to these seminars and going to these educations. If I'm not able to connect with the player, but you say something and the way that you said it is able to connect with them. But you're all the way in Northern Cal. I can't have my player connect with you. I'm in Tampa.
Right.
I'm in Clearwater, Florida. I can't have them take a lesson with you from Northern Cal. I mean, they're paying me. But what I can do for them, because they're my member, or they're my players, if I learn different ways to say the same thing from our networking and from hearing and us talking or whatever, is I can use this networking and this conversation that we have and help them become better players through our networking.
Right. Most of the stuff I learned is stuff I forgot. Like half the stuff you learn, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it's like, it's a chance to kind of think about, we call tossing the salad. And you can, instead of just adding stuff on top all the time, you toss it up and you remember stuff, oh yeah, this stuff on the bottom is pretty good too. And that's what you do. And what you're describing is you're tossing the salad. You're taking things, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And if I add this to it. So for 3 years in a row, I won the USPTA Continuing Education Award. And I had the most, and everybody said, why do you keep going to these seminars? I says, because if I'm that smart, I only need one idea to multiply by all the things I know. But half the stuff I know is stuff I forgot. So I got to keep going.
Well, I talked to Tom Schweitzer one day, and he said, and Tom, and he made this, the cost of continuing education. If you go to a conference and you pick up only one idea, but that one idea makes you $3,000 for one event.
Right.
But then now you're able to use that one $3,000 an event idea for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
How much did that conference really cost you?
They paid you to go.
Is it $3,000 for the event? So you paid your $400 for your registration, and you paid, your $400, $500 for the hotel, and then you paid your meals and your travel and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you're at $1,500 for the week because you got to take your wife or your girlfriend or both, depending on what your lifestyle is.
That's right.
And then don't tell them if it's both, because they may get both mad or whatever. And then you make your $3,000 in your event, and then now you've doubled your money that you spent for the registration for the club, and now you're doubling that every single year.
Sure.
And then for the next 30 years or whatever, or however long you teach or whatever that you do, and then you never know what you're going to do. And then next thing you know, for these other conferences or these other workshops, you just keep on getting other nuggets for how you can adapt things or change things or whatever. I know you're the same way with education too. So
right, sure am. But a lot of it's just I love new ideas. I love these little things that can make a difference. Different way to say something, different way to do something. That's how I've never gotten bored teaching, because why would I? Because I learn something new every day.
Yeah, I think it's really an adapt, overcome situation with teaching, because problem solving. Because if we've got a player on the other side of the net, it's our job to be their coach,
right?
To take them to where they want to go. And and you're totally right there. And Ken, what you've been able to do in this industry and help other pros, and you've been a mentor for me for a little bit, and I've known you now, and you've inspired so many in the industry, and you've been a shining star really for a lot of people in the tennis world. So
that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything you've done. I know we're getting it's about 10:15 or so here, and 7:15 about where you are there in California. So we're closing down in our on our show here. So thank you so much, Ken, for coming on. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it was a real honor to get a chance to come and spend time with you. And hopefully all the guys that come to watch us enjoyed what we were talking about too. But it's just you do a great job with your presentation skills too. I watch how people speak and how they present, and you're very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
You've got your niche right there as a podcaster, and I'm sure you're as creative on the court with your students too. So it's a real honor to see you in person and get a chance to be online with you. And I'll come back anytime you want.
Oh, that's one thing I try not to do is talk too much on the
court. You do a great job with it.
I get a little timer, and if I talk for more than 2 minutes, I shut up and I go say, go play, go hit. And if there's like still looking at me, I'm going like, what are you always waiting for?
Yeah,
like, you guys go play, go. Steve mentions great show. Thanks.
Hey Steve, thanks.
Guys, I hope you're doing well, Steve. This weekend was supposed to be the USPTA Florida convention, so I missed a bunch of people this weekend. So hope you're doing well, Steve. I know you're normally there, so hope you're doing well. But anyway, Ken, great to see you, and hope to see you. Well, that came out. Hopefully, I'm not taking the steam away from anyone, but it was announced a couple of days ago that the USPTA World Conference will be online this year instead of New Orleans. So I was hoping to see you in New Orleans, hoping to see you maybe on Bourbon Street, but that's not going to be the case this year. So maybe Vegas next year in 2001, if not sooner, it's somewhere else. So hopefully I see you soon. If not, I'll see you online. And
Mike, have a great night. Thanks to all the guys that came and hopefully watched our show. And I look forward to seeing you again too.
All right. Well, guys, take care. And we will see you next week on the Elite Tennis Podcast. Guys, everyone take care and stay safe.
Good night, Mike.